Okay.
Firstly, thank you, all of you guys, still willing to learn more, to join us, to share with us, to grow with us. I am Isabel. I'm from Teranga Valley, and I want to say that I am the first attendee of Teranga Valley. I'm always looking forward for the events, I think. And I'm very, very grateful for all the speakers and especially Maria today, because they are giving their time to share what they learn and to help us also to grow in some areas. And we are very proud of having this community that is helping each other. And even despite the recent events, still going and learning. So I want first, yes, to congratulate all of you guys for continuing improving things, even though, okay, everything around might seem not so good, but we need to keep going. And thank you, Maria, especially for this topic of time management that we all faced, even though some people are out of quarantine, let's say. Um, there is people in the world who are just getting in. I realize we have a lot of time, but days are also going by so fast. Let's also think about that as an opportunity to get inside of us, knowing us better, like what we want really, and trying to get out of this even stronger. So I'm really excited for this event, and I really want to learn from you. And thank you very much, Maria.
Isabel, if I can ask you if you could maybe mute everyone while we're here, so that we have we don't have any return on
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. So thank you so much, Isabel, for having me. We had planned this workshop for face-to-face in February, then we all got stuck in different places. So I'm
Yes.
super happy to do this, even if it's remotely, and I'm super happy to talk about this topic because it's one of my favorite topics. I'm very, very into time management, and I'll tell you guys why a little bit later, but I'm very happy to do this. So again, you're all muted. You should be all muted. And I'm gonna ask you guys to interact in the chat because that's easier for everybody to manage, and we'll do some interaction. So this is not a just listening workshop. All right, let's see if I, no, it doesn't, okay, well. All right, so very, very briefly, this is not about me, it's about time management, but for those who don't know me, this is basically a brief introduction about myself. So I'm a cross-cultural facilitator, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer. I work mostly in communication and productivity. I have been living in Shanghai for the last 10 years, and I'm currently in Italy, Milan, and I'm looking forward to coming back to Shanghai as soon as possible because I really, really, really miss Shanghai. And I do this as a job. So my job is to help people how to be more productive, both on training, so group coachings, and also one-on-ones. And time management is one of my favorite topics to talk about because I needed it a lot. And so I've done a lot of work on myself on how to do it. And I'm not perfect. I'm not the master productivity person that I think nobody can be, but I learned a few things through it. And so I'm super happy to share with you guys what I have learned and hopefully can help you as well. So as Isabel was mentioning, some of us are in quarantine. Some have been into lockdown and quarantine. Some are not anymore. In general, when you have time and you realize that something is changing, at least a lot of people I talked to had two moods. One is, I have this free time. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sleep all day. I don't have to work. So I'm just going to, not do anything. The other side of people is like, okay, now I have all this time. I cannot waste even 1 second of it. So I need to do everything I can. I need to learn how to code. I need, to make my own clothes. I need to learn 3 languages and do all the projects I haven't done in the last 5 years, which those are perfectly acceptable things to think. But as you might guess, none of those 2 things are useful. Okay, because not wanting to do anything is nice for a couple of days, but then at least me, I get super restless. And at the same time, you're not being fair to yourself if you're trying to think, well, now I have this time and I need to do everything. Okay? Doing everything is impossible. I just tell you right now. So we're not even going to try and do that. Okay? But we do have this time. Some people have more time, some people have less time that they think they have. We'll get into that a little bit later. But we want to try and see what is our relationship with time and how to manage it. So this is my favorite quote ever because it exposed a very simple truth. We all have 24-hour days. As far as I understand, as far as I know, we cannot create more time. We all have the same exact amount of time. Everyone in the planet has the exact same amount of time. Some people use it differently. Some people get more done. Some people get less done. But it's not about time. When we talk about time management, it's never about actually time. It's always about ourselves and the relationship with time. And how do we create that relationship in a way that makes sense instead of keep struggling with time? And that's where we'll start today. So today's agenda is 3 very, very key things. Time management mindset, first and foremost. Without awareness, we're not going anywhere. Second, 3 key rules to get your relationship with time better. And then how to make it sustainable, okay? Because regardless of what I tell you today, or regardless of what you learn from a book, from a movie, from a YouTube video, if you don't use it every day in your life, then it doesn't really matter. So I've been talking already for 5 minutes, which is more than I usually do. So this is for you guys. Type it in the chat. What is the one thing, and today we're going to learn about the importance of focus. What is the one thing you want to improve in your time management? Type it in the little chat. This is a good self-awareness exercise. There might be many, many, many things, but right now, if you want to choose one important thing, what is that? All right, so Frederick says beating deadlines. Okay. Prioritizing, all right, not getting caught up in YouTube videos. We've all been there. So prioritizing, beating deadlines, need to get into a routine, and now everything is different. Okay, all right, be more productive. Amount of time I spend reading news online. Okay, all right. Good, 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 good. And if you cannot think of anything right now, that's okay. This means that this is the first thing you have to ask yourself when you want to start a journey into understanding how to manage your time. Because without this, we're not building on anything. So keep that in mind. So keep that your thing in mind and use that while we're working through this. Okay. So with Isabel's help, I created a little survey and we sent it out in the WeChat group, and a few people have answered, which if you had done, thank you very much. Very helpful. And this is what it came out. So I feel that it's similar with the chat. So we have focus on priorities, so prioritizing, a lot of balancing life and work, especially for a lot of people who might be working at home, might be working remotely. There's a lot of blurring between what you're supposed to do for work and what you're supposed to do for your family and your friends and your socializing. Finding the time to do what needs to be done, aka don't spend too much time on YouTube or other news sites, or like feeling like you're wasting your time. Don't feel overwhelmed. In a situation like this, it's already easy to feel a lot of stress and anxiety. I'm not a psychologist, so I will not try to address those feelings, but I think we can acknowledge that everyone is feeling particularly stressed and anxious at times in this situation. And that doesn't help if you feel that you're routine and you're not making the most out of your time. So this is what we want. How do we get it? Well, first, we get into the right mindset. Okay, that is the first thing that we need to do. And I want to be very honest. This is a very honest workshop. What are your excuses for not getting things done? Like you all shared today that these are things that you struggle with. Okay, you need to get a routine. You need to be more efficient. You want to spend less time on the news or YouTube. Why are you doing these things? Like, as simple as that. Try to be honest with yourselves. What are your excuses for not getting the things that you want to do? And I'm using excuses very deliberately. I'm using this word very deliberately. But I want you guys to start thinking, why am I not making the time? So Frederick starts by saying, fighting boredom with fun activities. That's very honest and extremely true. I'm recently been getting into neuroscience and like the ideas of like why our brain works the way it does. And spoiler alert, our brain is extremely lazy. Our brain is built for experiencing nice things and pleasures, and it's very, very anti doing anything that requires effort. So boredom, it's very uncomfortable. So the brain wants to be entertained, right? So instead of wanting to work on your project or like go and clean the house, your brain tells you, look at the YouTube videos, there's kitties, it's fun. But at the same time, that doesn't get things done. Lisa says, okay, starting too many tasks at once. That's also very honest, okay? You want to do 1,000 things and you have all the things in front of you, and then you start to do all the things at once, and then inevitably you feel overwhelmed and you might not even finish one of them. Steven says, I turn on YouTube as background and then I end up just watching videos. Yeah, because YouTube is particularly good at sucking your attention and just never let you leave. So YouTube is getting their job done. All right, or having too many things to do and leading to burnout. Okay, so thank you for being honest. I don't care if you're honest with me. This starts if you're honest with yourselves, okay? If you're not honest to yourself or why you feel that this is not working for you, then it's really hard to build on it. Shrug emoji. Most people say, I don't have time, I'm too busy. Or I have other important things to do, right? I cannot get with my personal project because I have so many other important things to do. Or, as you guys mentioned, which I'm very happy you did because it fits very nicely with my slide, my brain needs to relax. I'm too bored or like I'm too stressed, so I need to do something to relax. And so I don't have time for other things. Well, sorry, those are just excuses, because I'm too busy means that your schedule doesn't work for you. Okay? If you say you have other important things to do, you're choosing to prioritize other things. And that's not a bad thing, but it's a choice. Things don't happen to you if you don't choose to do them, okay? And you have 95% of the time complete control on what you can do, okay? I'm generalizing very broadly here, okay? This is going to be a lot of general situations, and then in the Q&A, I'm very happy to answer more specific questions, okay? Because it's really hard to be specific with personal situations. Or, you need to do these things because your brain is lazy and doesn't want to do anything. Fair. I have done all of these things and I said these things all the time. I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I can't do things. We're humans. But once you recognize this, you recognize that you can do something to change this pattern, okay? Your brain has been going into, I'm too busy, I don't have time for this. That's the automatic response. With awareness and a little bit of planning, we can try and change that pattern into, I'll see what I can do about it. Let's see how we can do that. If you don't remember anything from today, please just remember this. You will never find time for anything. You don't just walk into the street and find time. You have to make it. And this is the hardest truth of all, because if we don't do anything, then time just flows by. But if we want something to happen, we have to make the time for it. And this means a lot of things. This means sometimes sacrificing stuff. Sometimes it just means like, I decided to spend 2 hours in front of the TV because I'm tired. And that's okay. But it's not, I'll spend 5 minutes in front of the TV and then it's 2 hours later and you're like, wait, where did the time go? So it has to be intentional. You have to make the time for it. I hope this makes sense. So we're going to spend the majority of our time today with the 3 key rules, okay? Because mindset is what we just talked about. We don't find the time, we make the time. And you're going to tell me, yeah, sure, thank you, Maria, that's very helpful. How do I do that? Well, this is what the 3 key rules are for, okay? Once you know that you have to create the time if you want to get things done, then these three things will help you to create a system that allows you to make time. I'm going to make different examples. Now, as an entrepreneur and someone who works for herself, and I don't have a team, I don't have direct reports, I am lucky enough that most of the time I can decide my schedule and I can decide what the tasks are. Some people working from home might feel similar, right? Because now they have much more liberty to choose what they want to work on, be it work-related, being, you know, decorating the house, getting in shape, learning a new language. If you work as an employee or in a company, you might have a lower level of liberty to choose, but these rules always apply regardless of what your personal situation is. So this is the first rule. As some said in the chat before, I think Lisa was it. We have a lot of things to do. How do we prioritize? You know, everyone is busy, quote unquote, because we have a lot of interests, because we have a lot of things we like to do. We want to get in shape. We want to improve ourselves. We want to learn more things. We have a day job. We have a side hustle. We have a family. We have friends. We have lots of things we want to take care of. So how do we prioritize? It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's really, really hard. But I found that there is one tool that can help you at least gather your thoughts into what needs to happen first, okay? And this is the Eisenhower matrix, as in, yes, Eisenhower, the former president of the United States. This is the time matrix that I first learned 2011, 2012, was a long time ago. And I didn't realize how important it was going to be until I used it when I became self-employed. Because at the beginning, I was like, ah, my boss will tell me what to do, which true. But at that time, I had no control over what was given to me as a job. So now that I can actually choose, I find myself struggling sometimes, like, okay, what should I do first? And this always comes in hand. So the first thing you should do is do a brain dump. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Take pieces of paper and just write down everything. So you have all the list of your things that are in your mind. Once you have all those things in your mind, you can fill out this matrix. And we're going to try, if the video works, we're going to try to do it together. Okay? Ooh. No, it's not. It's not. Better. Okay, good. So, all right. Anyone wants to give me some example of a few things that maybe you have to deal with day to day and are urgent and important, not urgent and important, not important and urgent, and not urgent and not important? Anybody wants to give it a try? Let me pull up the chat. I can see it. All right. So, of all the things you need to deal with daily, where would you put some of these things? Let's start with this one. Some things that are not urgent and not important. Any examples?
Should we put it in the chat?
Sure, yeah, no, that's also okay. Hi, Lisa.
Sorry, I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, it's okay, it's fine, no worries. Guys, feel free to share. So cleaning, all right. All right, what else? What is something that is not urgent and not important? Watching YouTube, all right. And guys, these may change day to day, okay, week to week, but this is an exercise that you can do as many times as you want to try and filter out all the things that you want to do. So watching Netflix. So I use Netflix. Oh, hi, Ayak. Use AI tech to make videos, okay. All right, okay. So I personally, I would argue that some of these things can be important and urgent, okay, depending on the day, okay? But let's say that we agree that these things are not important and not urgent. Very good. Important part. What are some things that are urgent, which means that they demand timely response from you, but they're not important. This is very important to get right, because these are the things that usually occupy the space in our mind a lot. Things are urgent, things that need to be done right now or almost right now, but are not important. Going to the bank, okay. Messages on WeChat. Thank you, Nick. Food shopping. And call a friend for hours. Call a friend. Thesis, okay. Work, okay, okay. Work, it's a little big, okay. Work, it's a lot of things, okay. Attend webinars, all right, okay. Hopefully this one is a little bit important, but that's up to you to decide. Going out with friends, okay. Look, I don't know you guys, so I cannot, this is for you, okay. So whatever you feel that it's urgent and not important, just be aware of that, okay. Reply to emails. All right, now let's go on the important side. What things can be important but not urgent? Well, some things are important, so it needs to be done. And by important, we mean that we need to do it to achieve our goals. Okay, that's what important means. Visiting family. All right. So call workout. Call friends. Oops, sorry, friends. CDs. Selling. Job. All right. All right. Okay. And then the most important category at all. What is important and urgent? Give me some examples. Okay, so clearly from different people, we will have different things. So some thesis goes from important and urgent. Okay, so it's moving up. Finish the report, right? Finish the report. Sleeping. Exams, right? Yes, so anything that is related to our goals and has a deadline, okay? Proposals, very good. Proposals. Study. So if you see, we have different things put into different categories, okay? So what we have to do now, we have these boxes with these things, okay? Article due tomorrow, thank you, Nick. Yes, so things are important and urgent. It means that we have a deadline, okay? Things that are important and not urgent, it means they are important to us, but we don't need necessarily to do it tomorrow. We can do it in next week, next month. And these things, you can see my screen. Not important and urgent are things that are usually just grabbing our attention. These things are things that we probably, if we recognize that they're not important to us and they're not urgent, why are we even paying attention to them, right? So let me share the first thing that we have to talk about. This is what you need to do with those things. If something is not important and not urgent, just get rid of it. You have just made yourself aware that that thing is not important to you. It's not urgent, so you shouldn't spend your time right now on it. Why are you even doing it? And again, this might change day to day, week to week, month to month. But if you recognize it's not important, why are you even spending time on it? Going back to quadrant number 3, if something is not important, but it's urgent, if you can, and this is probably the hardest thing, at least for me personally, delegate. There's a lot of things, a lot of admin, a lot of like replying to emails, a lot of WeChat, a lot of social media work that it's possible to delegate. It's not going to be easy, but it will free up your time to do other things. Okay? And we're not talking about delegation specifically today because that requires working with other people, and that's something that usually you have a little bit less control on. But that is something to keep in mind. If it's occupying your time and is not important for you, try to find a way to either automate it or give it to someone else to do. We're going to focus today on the two top part. So what is important to us, right? So if something is urgent and important, well, we have to do it. Okay? There's no getting out of that one. You have to do it. What is important and not urgent, we have to plan. Because if we don't plan it, then we come up to the time where we want to have the result and we forgot to plan for it, and so we haven't done anything. Right? So today we'll focus on the do and plan. Feel free to use this little matrix, whatever you feel that you can figure out what you need to focus on, okay? It's really, for me, it's really, really helpful to do because I just dump everything on a piece of paper and then I start organizing things. And the key is to be really, really honest with yourself because nobody knows your priorities more than you do, and nobody really can do this for you. You have to be extremely honest with yourself on what you want to focus on at that time. And for anybody who still has trouble prioritizing, this is a very cute image that I found on Monday.com. If you're still unsure and you will say, okay, but a lot of things are important and a lot of things are urgent. So what should I do? I have a 25 things to do list. What should I do? What should I do? Do the first thing is the thing that makes you more uncomfortable. Why is there a frog? Well, because Mark Twain once said, if your job is to eat a frog, you might as well eat it first thing in the morning because the day is going to go so much better after you've done that. And I have personally done that this morning. If you guys probably don't know me, I hate recording videos. I'm perfectly okay doing live streams. I hate recording videos. And so this morning I had to record a video to put on WeChat. And I had to do it first thing in the morning because otherwise I would have been miserable all day because I had this anxiety on like, I have to do it, I have to do it. So I ate the frog, I did it first thing in the morning, and then I was done. Once I've done that, everything is smooth. So that's a hack that I personally use and I find really, really helpful to get me started. All right, any questions so far? Because I've been going on for a while and you guys have been responding, which is fantastic. But I just want to make sure if there's any questions or anything you want to ask or clarify before we move on. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions or chat right in the chat. All right, I'll take that as a silence is a sense. So thank you, very good. So that's not what I want to do. This is what I want to do. All right. So step one was prioritize, okay? Get all your things in order and understand what you want to focus on, what you want to work on, okay? Now you have your big list of things you want to do. For example, starting that new project, learning that new language, working out, getting healthier, fantastic. How do you organize all these things? How do you make the time? How do you make sure you actually do these things? Well, we need organization. Now, regardless of if you're, a very analytical person or you're a more creative person, everyone has their own way of organizing their thoughts, okay? So this might look different for everyone, okay? But there's a general way of organizing things to make sure that it's visible. So this is how I do it and how I think that it's personally very useful to track things into different time schedules, okay? So let's go back to our prioritizing exercise, okay? Take everything from the do category, so anything that is important and urgent, okay? And put it into the master list. Then add everything that is in the plan category. So things that are important but not urgent. You have your master list, okay? Then that master list goes into, okay, maybe some things are to be done in April, maybe some things are to be done in May, maybe some things are to be done in June, okay? Start to categorize them by month. If you only have 1 month to work, fine, that's okay. Then you separate it again into weeks, okay? Do I have to do everything today? Probably not, okay? What can I do this week to achieve that goal? Then from the week, you go it from the day. Okay, once I have to achieve this goal today, or this week, what do I have to do today to make steps towards it? If you guys have joined the last week's Teranga Valley webinar with Jamie about tiny habits is a very similar idea, okay? You get the big goal and then you decline it into smaller steps to make sure that you can actually achieve it. I'll give you an example. This is my personal example because why not? I decided I'm learning Swedish. So, learn Swedish is a fantastic goal. I enjoyed it very much. My Swedish sucks at the moment, but I'm studying it. But that is a big task, okay? That's why it goes into my master list. Then I downloaded this app that tells me, okay, Swedish 1 is 220 words to learn. Great, that's very helpful. There's no way I'm going to do that, in a week. So that's a monthly goal. Then I divide by 4 weeks in a month. It means that every week I have to learn 55 words. Then it means that if I have to learn 55 words by week, I need to learn 8 words per day, right? This fits very neatly. I know not everything can be organized this perfectly, but it's just to give you an example that from a big, big, big goal, then you can go to a daily thing. Because if I put on my task list every day, learn Swedish, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to feel very overwhelmed because it's too big of a goal. It makes me uncomfortable just to think about it. I have to make sure I give myself tasks that I can actually achieve. Okay? In that way, my brain feels that it's slightly easier and so it doesn't panic. All right. So anyone wants to try and do this exercise? Let's see if I can do this. Lisa, I saw your question. It's a very good question. How do you keep from getting sidetracked? We're going to get into step 3. Oops, sorry. So this requires a little bit of time, okay? So we don't have the time to do it one by one, but I do strongly encourage you guys after today to go and try to do this for yourself, okay? Pick one goal. Again, focus on one thing only because otherwise you will feel a lot overwhelmed. And this is what you can do. I'm going to speed through this because I want to have enough time to go through all of it. Everyone that you talk to, me included, would say, don't worry, I'll remember it. Spoiler alert, you will not. If you have things to do, if you have places you need to go to, if you have people you need to talk to, some things will slip your mind. Okay? That's perfectly normal. So why keep on pretending that you can all remember everything? Use tools to help your brain remember. Whatever tool it is, up to you. It doesn't really matter. You can use a calendar. I do not live without my calendar. If it doesn't go into my calendar, it doesn't get done. I have a to-do app. We can talk that about in the Q&A session. Otherwise, I will bore you guys to death with all my geeky stuff. You can use pen and papers. You can use sticky notes or boards. You can use stone tablets. You can use anything. I don't care. Write things down. If you don't, your brain will keep thinking about those things and it will make you feel so overwhelmed that just the thought of getting things done will overcome you and you will feel that you don't want to do anything. I can tell you that's true because I personally experienced that many, many times. That's why I started writing things down or putting things in another place that is not my brain. Once you do what it's called, and we've talked about it already, a brain dump, you take everything that is in your brain, you just put it somewhere else. Your brain can slowly breathe and catch a little bit of breath. I'm like, okay, now I'm a little bit better. But if it keeps thinking about things, it will definitely get overwhelmed. All right. Any questions before we move on? I get really, really passionate about this, so I might go too fast. Please feel free to stop me if I'm just going too fast. Otherwise, I want to. Someone unmuted themselves.
Yeah, it's me. I just wanted to say, personally, I'm always doing the master list, but and then I try to, make priorities, but it was still a long list, and it was feeling very overwhelming because as I have many different activities, also I'm doing one master list per activity. So every time I was looking at it and I was feeling like, oh my God, But the new way you described, especially with this thing of eliminating things and planning, and doing monthly, weekly, and yeah, I think actually this is for me an opening. I don't know. And yes, I think it would be great to do like master list per maybe per goal. What do you think? Do you think we should make it that, this is my question, per goal or per general, or should we categorize when we have so many things to do that are different? For example, if you want to learn a language and you want to be healthy and you want to open a new business, is that all in the same master list, or you do per goal? This is just...
No, that's an excellent question. I would say that first, you're very right that you should not do this once. Okay, this is not an activity that you do once in your life and you never do that again. Ideally, it's something that you do at the end of each day. You review your daily list for the next day. You do it every week, maybe on a Saturday, on a Sunday. You do a weekly review and just adjust it. You do a monthly review. You do a bi-monthly, biannually. You do it. This list should be something that keeps evolving, right? Because your priorities are evolving, because the things you're doing are evolving. Regarding the question Isabel mentioned, which is, should I do a one big list or like divide it into projects? Honestly, whatever works for you. There are some people who prefer to say, look, I have my work list, my side hustle list, my friends list, and my family list. And then you take one thing at a time and then you put them into the big. Some people find that too fractured and they want to do, no, I need everything in one because my life is one, and I'll just put it there. To me, I go between both of them. I generally do a project list because that's how I work. And so it's easier for me to just go around and say, for this project, this is what I need to do for this project, and it helps me keep it more focused. But that's what it works for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for anybody. All right. So, to answer Lisa's question, how do you get yourself from getting sidetracked? That's the answer. Focus. And I'm very aware that I'm throwing around this word like it's an easy thing to do. It's not. It requires effort. Again, our brain is lazy. Our brain doesn't like to work hard. So keeping focused on one task is actually pretty hard. But luckily, science has helped us in this, and we have a few tricks that we can do to try and slowly harness our brain to actually work with us instead of working against us. All right, so first, we said at the beginning, you need to make time, okay? Because you don't find time anywhere. This is 3 things that I personally learned I have to do. Otherwise, I will never make time for it. First, schedule blocks for actual deep work. Now, this particularly applies to me because my deep work means I have to write a workshop. I have to write an article. I can't do that in 5 minutes while I'm walking to the subway. That just doesn't work. I can do WeChat while I'm, outside or before going to bed, but I cannot do the deep work. So this is actually a tip that my very dear friend and fellow facilitator, Rita Malvone, gave to me, which is like, take your calendar, physically block out 2 hours and say, it doesn't matter what happens, this is the time where I'm going to do X. I'm going to write my thesis. I'm going to write that article, and treat that as a meeting. It's a meeting with yourself. It's a way to keep yourself accountable. Because if you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you can always play around with the time. But okay, you'll do it tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's in your calendar. It makes you feel like you have taken an appointment with yourself, and so you should show up for it. That's one. Second, time multipliers. This applies if you have a lot of things that you want to do that are complementary. I'm talking later about multitasking and what I hate it, but multipliers are actually the opposite. It means that you can do 2 activities that are complementary to each other and they don't disturb each other. For example, if you want to catch up with a friend, but at the same time you have to go to the bank. Okay, nobody likes to go to the bank, but why not Ask your friend. If your friend wants to come with you, you can go to the bank together, catch up, and then go out for coffee. Instead of going twice and spending twice the amount of time, you can combine those things. Now, it doesn't mean that you want to write your thesis while you watch a YouTube video. That's not a time multiplier. Because in that case, your brain is pulled into different directions and you're not actually focusing on it. So that's a bad example. A good example is, for example, washing the dishes while listening to a book, right? You don't need your hands to listen. You don't need your ear to wash the dishes. Those are two things that you can do at the same time and make the most out of both things, right? You listen to a book so you're not bored while washing dishes, and the washing the dishes goes faster because you're entertained by the book, okay? That's if you have two things that can be complementary. And for anyone who's an entrepreneur out here, and for anyone who has the ability and the liberty and sometimes the luxury to say no, please, please learn how to say no to things that don't benefit you. I had to learn this on my skin when I was starting to be an entrepreneur and everybody was asking me to do stuff. And I said yes to things that now I would never say yes to because I wasn't experienced and I wanted to please my clients. And of course, I made terrible decisions that now I know better. But learning to say no and say, I don't want to make time for that because that's not important for me. That's an important thing to learn. It's hard, don't get me wrong, it's very hard. But that allows you to make time for other things. Okay? You don't always have to say yes to everything. And we could have a huge discussion about this, but we're not going into here. But learning to say no to things that don't work with your time management priorities, that's huge. And it takes practice. Someone in the chat. All right, can you give us example kind of work items using time multipliers? Absolutely. So for example, let's say, it depends on what kind of work. For my work could be very different from your work. Can you give me an example, Nick? For example, my time multiplier for work would be that, for example, I can write this article. That's actually something I usually do. I'm working on my own content. So what I would do is I would brainstorm my content, and then I will use that brainstorm for different kinds of content. So I would write an article. I would make a workshop out of it. So I don't have to brainstorm twice. I would do one big brainstorm and then use it for different scopes. But that is because the kind of work that I do. Currently an English teacher. Okay, so what kind of tasks do you have to do? This is very different for everybody, okay? I don't know, for example, if you have to prepare a lesson, okay, you might want to prepare the same lesson plan and grading. Okay, for example, grading. Let's say how much, let's say that you have experience in grading, okay, so maybe it's not deep work, it's something that you can do while you do other things. For example, I don't know, I'm assuming, feel free to correct me. Maybe you can grade your papers while you listen to a book, right? If you want to catch up on that podcast. Maybe you can grade your papers while you're on the subway or if you're in a taxi, okay, if that works for you. That is one example of light work that can be done in different situations that doesn't need to be super concentrated. Okay? I'm guessing lesson plans require a little bit more of mental brain power, right? So maybe planning a lesson in a taxi sounds not super ideal. You know, try to find those things that your brain is on autopilot enough that you can do something else without disturbing your brain. Okay, again, I personally cannot write if I listen to music with words. So listening to a song completely derails me. I never listen to music while I work with words because I can't. Some people listen to podcasts while they write articles. Gosh knows how they do it, but they can. And so that's something that works for them. IHAC says she learns English while exercising. Wonderful, right? If you exercise and at the same time you want to learn a language, just put on some tape, you know, you're exercising, you know, you don't need your ears to exercise. And so you can do two things at the same time. Excellent example, IHAC. Thank you. So, again, moment of truth. We're talking about focus, and it means that we need to acknowledge what are our sources of distraction. Anybody cares to be honest and share with us what are your current sources of distraction? I can start. There's a fly in my room that is very distracting at the moment. Hopefully, I'll try to ignore it. Come on. Social media. Thank you, Valentina. Yes. Social media is a huge distraction. WeChat. Yes. WeChat is a love and hate situation right now that it's not even ridiculous. Phone calls, yes, absolutely, especially because you can't plan for those, right? Your phone starts to ring, it's a distraction, absolutely. What else? Again, be very honest with yourselves. It could be your friend or your roommate or your parents or your family in the other room, right? That are in the other room, they're not doing anything, but just hearing them might be distracting for you. Your cats, yes, I'm sure your cats are lovely, Rim, but they can be quite distracting, especially if they want food or attention. News channels, yes. Your baby, I'm sure your baby's adorable, Isabel, but yes, children can be a little bit distracting, yes. News channels, absolutely, especially with what's going on. Here, I'm in my parents' house and they have the radio on for most of the day. That's why I stay here, because listening to the news, even while you're doing something else, can be extremely distracting. Because if you don't want to think about that, having that in your ear every day can be quite distracting. And again, we have to acknowledge that our brain is pulled by this thing, and that's okay. As long as we realize that if we want to get things done, we need to learn how to manage those distractions. Again, I'm not arguing that everyone has to shut themselves into a room forever, because we're doing that already and it's not fun. But if you want, as Lisa was saying, to avoid being sidetracked by other things, we have to recognize that we get easily distracted. So we have to take steps in order to avoid that. So here are my 5 tips on how to do that. Get rid of your notifications. I've done that on my phone. I don't get email notifications anymore. I barely get notifications from WeChat, and everything else is off. It's not perfect, but it really helps not having your phone ping every 3 seconds, just in general in life. If I have to get something done really focused, then I'll just shut my phone off. And I've been doing that for the last couple of weeks. I'll just shut my phone off if I have to concentrate. It's hard because I'm accountable to myself, but I'm trying, and it's actually pretty nice. Stop multitasking. Again, don't kid yourself. If you think you can focus on a movie and writing an article, you're probably not going to do either of those things well. You just don't. 3 is my favorite one because I do that with sound. I never, ever, ever work in silence. I cannot. I have to put some background music on, and that has 2 purposes. One is to get me focused. Second one is to block out the noises from around me. What if it's a cafe, even if it's in a house, there's noises everywhere. I get easily distracted. Space means, if you can, turn your desk or like whatever you're doing towards a blank background so you don't get distracted by people going around. I know it's not super easy sometimes, but if you can, staring at something that doesn't move really helps to avoid your eyes getting distracted. And then actually time management. So this is the only thing that you can actually do with time. Everything else is about mindset. Means the Pomodoro technique. Again, Jamie last week mentioned it, and this is something I've been doing for the past year, 2 years. It's life-changing. If you guys have not tried the Pomodoro technique, you should. Even just one, it really will change your life. What does that mean? Pomodoro is an Italian word that means tomato. The guy who invented it had a tomato timer, the one you use in the kitchen, right? That you turn and goes. That one you put it, or any timer, really. You put on for 25 minutes. 25 minutes is long enough that you can get something done, but it's not a huge amount of time that your brain switches off in the middle. So the Pomodoro technique means that you do 25 minutes on and 5 minutes of rest 4 times through. And then after that, you take 15 to 30 minutes of break. It means you do 25 minutes When the timer gets off, you get up, stop looking at whatever you're doing, turn around the room, go get a glass of water, you come back, you do another 25 minutes. After 4 times, then you take a longer break. This has been honestly a life-changing thing for me, because 25 minutes is actually more sometimes than you need if you just start. Some things we think are going to take forever and they actually don't. It's just because we keep procrastinating and we never start. But you'd be surprised of how much things you can get done by just starting with 25 minutes. And all right, we're almost through, and then I'd love to open it up for questions. Then, once you have everything set up, you have your priorities, you have everything, and now it's the time, you're focused. Okay, what do you do? Well, a good friend of mine and a colleague has told me this acronym, which is OHIO, only handle it once. And I started using it, and it's fantastic, which means that if you have to answer that email, answer it, and then take it physically away from your inbox. Handle it once, and once it's handled, it should not be in your field of vision anymore, because that just makes you feel that you still have something to do. So handled and take it away. At the same time, visualize that completion. If you have a task list, tick it off, cross it, throw away whatever the piece of paper that you write it on. It doesn't matter. Make sure that your brain associates something done and that it's not on my attention anymore. In that case, it doesn't have to keep being anxious about it. And if that thing requires a follow-up, put it down on your list right away. Let me give you an example. I have to create this workshop. Okay, once I create this workshop, I'm done, right? No, I have to do the workshop. So I'm going to put another task list on my list. Once I've done the workshop, I will say, check feedback. So you keep going with your task list in a natural way that doesn't make you feel overwhelmed because you already completed one thing, and then it flows naturally into the next. So make it sustainable. I'm gonna promise that this is actually gonna make it worth it, okay? Because all of this is just me talking about how to make the perfect way of dealing with your tasks. Nothing of this matter if you're not gonna do it, okay? So I have 3 things that you guys should remember. What makes it hard? I want to hear from you. Before I give you 3 tips, why are you not consistent? Like Isabel mentioned, I do the list, but then I feel it feels overwhelming. Maybe the list was too big, okay? Someone was saying before, I want to create new habits. Okay, what makes it hard for you not to do these habits? Okay, again, being very honest with yourself. Anybody wants to share in the chat? Why is it hard to keep these things doing day to day? I'm just reading Ayak's comment. That's really sweet. My hobbies are to be a superstar like Queen Freddie Mercury. That's a very good goal. I agree. So Lisa says it's very easy to overschedule. Okay, fair? Fair. Lisa, I would venture to ask yourself, why are you overscheduling? Using this word overschedule, it means that you already know it's too much. So Nick says, I don't get started correctly. I may end up getting on YouTube first thing, and then 3 or 4 hours later, I'm still on it. Okay, I have an honest answer to that. Block YouTube from your computer. Like, I know it's radical, but like if the first thing you do is to get on YouTube, then it's going to be very hard for you to pull yourself out. There are software that can block sites. Try that. And it's not going to be comfortable, but if it's physically more difficult to get on that, your brain might just give up at that. Ihak says, too much overthinking. I imagine bad things or failure. Okay, that's definitely something that you can manage. Okay, and that is something that overthinking is never good for anyone. At the same time, it doesn't really have to do with the thing you're doing. Has to do with the mindset. What is your mindset? Isabel says, maybe schedule a time. Yeah, that's a great example. You know, if you know you want to be on YouTube, that's perfectly okay, as long as you try and control that time so that it doesn't. Maybe try a Pomodoro. I'll do 25 minutes of YouTube for every 2 hours of work. Okay, that's a good way. I have it just in a sec. Rim says, waste a lot of time on poor internet connection, so end up being late on schedule. Okay, Rim, that's a great example. Do you have any control over the internet connection? Because if not, that is something that you're just trying to battle against windmills. Is there anything that you can do to move some of your tasks offline, or like to do something that doesn't rely on the internet connection? Because that just may give you a little bit of room to breathe. Yeah, there you go, Nick. I actually know of a website that blocks website when I should be working. You can adjust the schedule. Yes, that's exactly what you should do. And again, the schedule might look different, okay? But recognizing that you want to eliminate that from your life is already a very, very, very good first step. I know a lot. There's freedom dot something, but Nick, feel free to share it in the chat for other people who are interested in blocking this. So if you want to make it sustainable, again, it comes from a place of awareness, okay? Which means know what works for you. I'm not a morning person, okay? I've started becoming a morning person because of Janine and Monday morning motivation, but generally I'm not super productive in the morning, but I'm worst at night. So I know myself, and I know that if I don't get something done by 5 p.m., I'm probably not going to do it. I can tell myself I'll do it, but it's probably not going to happen. So knowing this, I try to schedule all my deep work, all the difficult things more in the morning, because I know that by the time it's usually 5 or 6 p.m., I will not have the energy to work through those things. Some people could be completely opposite. Some people will have a slow start in the morning and get super productive after dinner. Whatever works for you, but knowing that about yourself and trying different things, it's key to know how to organize your schedule. Because it's going to be your schedule, not mine, not anybody else's. And it's useless to try and force yourself into a schedule that doesn't work for you. Okay, so that's number one. Yeah, freedom.to. Thank you, Nick. We are people. People are fallible. We make mistakes. Doesn't matter how much we plan. We can make mistakes and not go through smooth things. And that's okay. But it's less okay if we have deadlines and goals and things we want to achieve. So why not try and harness the power of other people by finding an accountability buddy? What does that mean? It means anything you want it to mean. It means asking a friend, a partner, a spouse, your children, your friend, your coworker, whoever. You have a goal and you want to keep yourself accountable to do that. You want to exercise 5 minutes every day. You want to finish that thesis or that article by next Monday. Tell someone about it and tell them, look, I'm working on this. I'm trying to manage my time to get things done. Can you please check on me in 2 days and check me how I'm doing? And I give you permission to tell me that I should get a move on, okay? This has slightly different results depending on the relationship you have with this person, but sometimes even a stranger, right? Sometimes even posting it on social media and saying, I have to get this done, please someone keep me accountable. That's also okay. But sometimes the motivation we have, but then we get overwhelmed. So having someone else from outside keeping us in check can be an extremely valuable resource. Okay? So find an accountability buddy, that can definitely help. And last but not least, this is a concept that I have found last year and I love it. Collect non-zero days, especially during lockdown, this pandemic, and there are people who are feeling very overwhelmed by the task list they have, by the things that they need to get done. Whether they want to, or do they feel they have to. Some days you're gonna feel extremely productive and you're gonna knock everything out of the park. Some days you're not gonna feel like that, and that's okay. Everybody's stressed. We don't have to put too much pressure on us. But if you don't do something every day, it's so much harder to get back on track. So for those days where you're feeling down and you're feeling not super productive, try at least to do one thing. So make it a non-zero day. Make it like, make your bed. There was the video going on WeChat of the major surgeon telling you that if you do your bed every day, you can achieve great things because it gives you mental clarity or whatever. Sure, if that helps, wonderful. If your one thing is cooking for yourself, that's great. If the one thing is showing up and calling that friend that you wanted to call, that's okay. Hopefully, if you keep doing that, you will have more and more and more non-zero days, and you will feel accomplished because you get things done, even if it's not the full list that you wanted to do. Just be kind to yourself. We're all in a very difficult situations. There's no reason for you to be super harsh on yourself. Okay, I speak this from the heart. And most of all, remember, you have to, your future is created by what you do today and not tomorrow, which means that's why non-zero days are so important. Even a tiny thing done today can have a huge impact on what you're going to do in the future. But starting just starts from you. All right. That's the gist of it. And I'm sure there's 1,000 other things that we could talk about, but we have so little time that I have to pare it down. I hope this was clear. I hope this was useful. I would love to get your questions and anything that you want to specifically clarify and work through, because again, this is a very general topic that can get more specific, but it's very hard without knowing what your typical situations are.
Thank you so much, Maria. I wanted to say something about accountability and to have buddies. I remember one day I had this goal to go to the park running or exercising every day. And I just throw it in the group, the Teranga Valley group. And I was like, okay, if you live near Tianshan Park and you want to go for exercising every day at 6:30 a.m., let's join the group. Then we had almost 20 people joining the group. Not 20 people came to everyday exercise, but we were at least 4 or 5 people. And we kept moving during a month doing that until it was so cold and and then, holidays and what happened. But it was kind of a very good thing to keep going, because then when I was waking up, I was like, oh, they're waiting for me in the park. I must go, And then we were taking pictures and putting it in the group, and who came, who didn't come, making some jokes. Why you slept over? Why? What did you do? So it was really a good way to keep things moving and very fun. And we also had someone who was in the industry of sports, so he was really giving us good advice on how to do the exercise the right way. So yeah, I really encourage, if people have ideas and they even want to find buddies in our groups, you are very welcome to post and do then a side group with the people who are motivated about your goal. So you can be accountable, and you also can give advice and learn from each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also it's more fun, right? We don't want to be just miserable and alone. All right, I see there's a question from Lisa. Okay, Lisa asked what productivity tools I like. Lisa, how much time do you have? No, being very honest, I use basically 2-3 tools. I use a Pomodoro timer, which is on my phone. It's just a set 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break, and so on. You can use, there's 1,000 different apps for Pomodoro. You can use your phone, it's perfectly okay. If you want a fancy app, sure. It doesn't really matter. You can use your watch if you want to, but it's helpful to have at least that little beeping going on. The second thing I use religiously every single day is my to-do app, which is Todoist. Is my favorite to-do app. It doesn't mean it's the best. It means it is the best one that works for me. It's basically a big list of things that you can schedule for different days. You can separate it by project. You can put little tags that say, show me all the things that I can do in the afternoon. Show me all the things that take 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes, so I can sort it in very different ways. It also has something, Todoist. Todoist. And I personally like it because it has a karma function. It means that I set a goal, like every day I want to achieve 5 tasks. When I get that 5 tasks, it gives me points. And then I can see a little graph of going up and going up. And then you have like levels. It doesn't give you anything. It's just a visual, you win today, which is, I'm very competitive. So that really helps me. And I really like seeing the graph going up, and then I get points, and then I get little rewards like I'm now a master of something, like you can get different titles. It doesn't mean anything, but it's motivating for me. So finding what works for you is really, really crucial. And it's really, like, for me, it's fun. I know that not everybody wants to spend hours and hours trying different tools, right? That's why the awareness part is really important. Knowing what clicks for you really helps in that.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Sabs asked, what app do I use for learning Swiss? I'm not learning Swiss, I'm learning Swedish, and I use Memrise. I tried Duolingo. I didn't really like it because it gave you really strange sentences, like the bear drinks milk, which, you know, nice sentence, but I'm not going to use it very often. So I like Memrise because it has little videos from native speakers and they tell you stuff, and it's basically a flashcard system. So it learns from your mistakes and it shows you things that you need to work more on, the more mistakes you make. And so it's really useful. All right, any other questions? DQAC says, I use Baidu to learn Chinese. Sure, why not? I gave up on my Chinese after no, my Chinese is needs a little bit refreshing, but not being in China, it's a little hard. Also, feel free to unmute yourself, guys, if you have any other specific questions or anything else.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to this. This was great. And I actually didn't know the topic when I was getting on. I wasn't sure. And it was very applicable for me because I needed this. So thank you so much. I'm horrible with time management. I tend to do a lot of things at once. And this was very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Lisa. So happy you could join us, even though it's very early morning for you.
Well, I'm better now. But yes, when I first got on, it was a little early.
Yeah, fair. Someone has also said thank you for the session. You're very, very welcome. So if you guys found this useful, I'm just going to do a couple plugs here, because one is that for those who don't know that I do this, me and Janine, who's also a trainer and coach and my partner in Monday Morning Motivation, she was also a Teranga speaker, I think, late last year. And we have a group called Monday Morning Motivation. It's mostly based on WeChat, and we do Monday morning motivation webinars, which means that every Monday at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. China time, which for me means middle of the night, but I'm happy to do it because our community is awesome. We have free webinars every Monday with different speakers to get people to wake up a little bit early on Monday, get the week started with learning something new. And we have almost 1,500 people on WeChat, so the community is growing and growing, and we're super happy to have so many people interested in this. If you want to join, scan the QR code or just add me and I'll add you in the group. Oh, everybody's being super nice. Thank you, guys. And last thing is, this is all my social media and WeChat handles. Do add me and ask me stuff. If you have any other questions, I'm in the Teranga Valley big group. So if you guys came from there, probably that's where you can find me. Or add me on WeChat. This is just scan the QR code and add me on WeChat, and I'll add you in everything you want. Thank you guys so much for joining. I know it's Friday night in China, so thank you for making the time. I'm very happy that you find it useful. And so someone is asking, I hope we'll use this tool. Should we do an accountability group to check in a week or two? Sure, let's use, we have the WeChat group for the event.
Yes.
If that's okay, we can use that as accountability. So feel free to write down whatever you want to achieve for next week, and we'll all keep you accountable.
Yes, exactly. Please add me on my new WeChat, because my WeChat is currently full for those who don't have me yet. So I just share now the ID. We already have a group with most of the people in this webinar today. And yes, if we can keep on going and motivate each other, maybe sharing some, if you find some nice applications that we can use, maybe by trying to manage your time, you found some useful things that you want to share, or maybe you want to find an accountability partner. We can try to motivate each other. And of course, we also will bring more events. And if you have some specific topics you want to talk about, or maybe we can go more deep in some areas, you also do let us know. And all the team of Teranga Valley, there is also Kitso, Kizito, Mac. We are very happy if you want to, even another kind of topic, we really want to learn and continue to, sharing anything that you think is important. So just join the group and let's continue to talk. Yeah, because we have different groups. We have the main group where there is a lot more people, and we are discussing about entrepreneurship in general and self-development. And we have also specific groups because we have the people who have interest, for example, of time management. So it's more manageable, and it's like more one-to-one than the big group where maybe other people don't have the same interest. So I encourage you to join the small group, and yes, let's digest all of this and trying to implement and sharing if we have any anything that is not going well, or actually sharing when things are going very well as well. You are very welcome. So thank you so much, Maria. I think
Thank you all, and to all the Teranga team. It was fantastic while you all here today. Again, any questions, do feel free to reach out and we'll figure that out. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.